Hello and welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Say What You Like podcast, NFL Top 10, Week 9 edition. I, of course, am Philip Enriquez, and coming in at number 10, where they were last week, the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers looked a lot better than they have in previous weeks, especially Aaron Rodgers, who had an impressive stat line throwing the ball, 28 for 38 for 246 yards, to go along with the 4 touchdowns. So he's definitely stepped his game up from previous weeks. But what's bothering me, besides the 1-point loss to the Falcons, what bothers me most is the fact that Aaron Rodgers is their leading rusher, 6 carries for 60 yards. Their running game is non-existent. And again, I have trouble putting them here up in the top 10 when they don't even have a decent running back on their roster. In fact, I believe the only running back that is on their roster is a player that they called up from their practice squad. They released Niall Davis. First, they traded for him 2 weeks, and then they ran him a few times in the ball game, and they released him just today. So they're looking like a mess. Mike McCarthy needs to get it together and get it together real soon, or else I can definitely see them dropping completely off our top 10 next week. So that brings us to number 9 on these power rankings, the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles gave the Cowboys all they could handle in their Sunday night football matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, but ultimately they dropped that contest 23-29. Carson Wentz, he does look good, but it seems like Doug Peterson realized that he's starting to have his little rookie moments here and there, and it looks like he's dialing back the playbook on Wentz. Wentz looked really good in that second and third quarter, dinking and dunking, letting his receivers make the plays, letting Darren Sproles make the plays. But as we got towards the end of the game, the Cowboys, they really keyed in on the short passes, took all the short passes away, and that offense struggled. The defense is amazing, but until they have a little bit more trust in Carson Wentz and get that offense going, find a consistent running game, they're going to continue to fall in these power rankings. The defense can't keep them there forever. And making it back onto our power rankings after taking a week off of them, at number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Matt Ryan, again, still playing at that MVP level, dropping off a tad bit just because record-wise they're not doing too well, not winning the last couple of weeks, but they step up big and they win 33-32 against the number 10 team, Green Bay, which earned them a big jump back up the power rankings. Now, Matt Ryan went 28 for 35, 288 yards, and 3 touchdowns, so he's still putting up the numbers. The defense is still suspect, and the team overall seems to continue its inconsistency, even with the changes at head coach throughout the last few years. This is just one of those teams that you don't know who's going to show up week to week. One day they can be world beaters, and the next week look like bums. So it's just one of those things in the NFL where you hope you don't catch them on their best day. Taking a sizable drop down the power rankings, down to number 7, the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings dropped their Monday Night Football matchup against the Chicago Bears 10-20. Sam Bradford was outplayed by Jay Cutler? What's going on here? I thought this team was dominant. And the worst part, to make matters worse, this defense that I thought was outstanding gives up 153 yards to Jordan Howard? Who's that? Come on, defense, get it together. You guys were supposed to be contending for the number 1 seed in the NFC, and now it's starting to look like you're going to struggle to make the playoffs. I understand injuries have hurt them, but it looks like they were overcoming them. And just to see them drop off so suddenly is really surprising. I just don't understand what's going on with the Minnesota Vikings in these last 2 weeks. Coming in at number 6 is the Seattle Seahawks, who are coming off a loss to the New Orleans Saints 20-25. And again, anytime you go up against the New Orleans Saints, it's a dangerous game. They're up and down, just as most teams are in the NFL, it seems like. But anytime you go up against Drew Brees, you could be in for a shootout, as they were. Now, when you're missing so many weapons like the Seahawks are, you're going to probably come up short, and they did. I mean, Russell Wilson, he threw for a decent amount, 253 yards, But Kristen Michael can't handle the load. They miss Marshawn Lynch. Kristen Michael runs for 40 yards. I mean, he's a decent backup, but he shouldn't be your starting running back. They're waiting for Thomas Rawls to return, and I bet they're hoping that Marshawn Lynch wants to come out of retirement. Lord knows they need it. But they just don't have the weapons at this point to compete. But like I've been saying all along, guys, once they get healthy, look for the Seattle Seahawks to be back in the top 5. Now, guys, this is where the power rankings get interesting because numbers 5, 4, and 3 all hail from the same division, the AFC West. The AFC West is becoming the most fun division to watch. I mean, they have 4 quality teams in the division, and only one is outside of the top 10, but yet that one team may be as dangerous as any of these. Still, coming in at number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs are coming off a game where they just beat up on the Indianapolis Colts and Andrew Luck 30-14. They lose their starting quarterback, Alex Smith, due to a concussion, what may be a concussion, I should say. He was under the concussion protocol, but nevertheless, Nick Foles comes in and throws for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce continues to show why he's one of the best and most underrated tight ends in the league. He had 101 yards and a TD. So the Chiefs are rolling along, and they're as dangerous as any in this jam-packed AFC West. Which brings us to number 4. Guys, it's time to call them for reals. The Oakland Raiders. When Derek Carr, this young quarterback, is throwing for 500-plus yards, and Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree are playing like stars on that outside, Latavius Murray is a very good running back, underrated. I mean, he's no Adrian Peterson, he's no Ezekiel Elliott, but he is definitely more than talented enough to get the job done, especially with the weapons they have in the passing game. This Oakland offense is dangerous, and things are looking up for the Oakland Raiders. These Oakland fans are going crazy. I mean, let's face it, Raider Nation, your team hasn't been good in 18 years, but this time, you guys got a legitimate hope. I mean, other teams are fearing and talking about the Oakland Raiders. They're starting to become a buzz that this Raider Nation is back and competitive. And I can completely see them overtaking the next team on my power rankings, the number 3, Denver Broncos. Denver lost a couple of starters for this last game. They had Aqib Talib was out, for instance, but it doesn't seem to affect them as they were able to pick off Phillip Rivers 3 times this week. And with DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller rushing on those ends, I mean, this is a quarterback nightmare. The Denver Broncos come with a so-so offense, but yet that defense puts up points. This defense is starting to remind me of that 2002 Tampa Bay defense where it's like, hey, don't worry about this offense. The defense can outscore the other opposing team's offense, and that's what makes Denver dangerous. But, once again, coming in at number 2, the NFC leading America's team, Dallas Cowboys, coming off a nail-biting 29-23 victory in Sunday Night Football over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, what made this game so impressive and so different was rookie phenom quarterback Dak Prescott looked like a rookie with an underline and an exclamation point. He struggled through most of this game, especially in those second and third quarters. But when the chips were on the table and it was that fourth quarter and in overtime, Dak impressed. He finishes with 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The Philadelphia Eagles were also able to keep Ezekiel Elliott somewhat in check, keeping him just under 100 yards. Des Bryant did come back with a bang, 4 receptions for 113 yards and a big TD. But like I said, back to what was most impressive in this game, Dak Prescott struggled but yet showed the goods. And did he not look just like Tony Romo with that spin move, finding Jason Witten for the win? Impressive, guys. The only team that may be more impressive is the number 1 New England Patriots. Fresh off a throttling of their division rival Buffalo Bills, 41-25. Tom Brady, 4-0 since returning from the Deflategate suspension. Brady was 22 of 33 for 315 yards and 4 touchdowns. This offense is still steamrolling opponents. Tom Brady is on a mission, and this team is definitely well on its way to a first-round bye, home field throughout the playoffs, and even though the AFC is looking tough, the only team that could legitimately give them a problem would be the Denver Broncos at this point. But New England continues to be number one until somebody